I am Bilal Morris, and this is Belizean Legends. As Belizeans, we have a great history of achievement. We are fortunate to witness some magnificent athletic performances. We've been privileged to enjoy great musical concerts from extraordinary musical artists. As a nation, we have struggled politically, but also made great progress. Culturally, we continue to evolve as a society. Where were you when some of these incredible moments occurred? Belizean Legends will transcend you back into time to relive some of these spectacular events and offer some behind-the-scenes perspective on the untold stories, as well as updating you on the individual lives featured in this series.
So I became a member of the Dunright softball team as a junior player around 1965, and I stayed on the bench, and I decided I wasn't going to spend the rest of my time as a bench player. And so looking at the Dunright team at that time, they had all the greats, everybody didn't seem as though they would ever make a mistake for them to be replaced. And I decided, you know what, I am going to unseat somebody on the first 9 of the Dunright softball team at that time. And I liked the outfield, and so one day Enid Flowers was one of the better softball outfielders playing for Dunright team at that time. Could not be at the game. And I believe he might have had about 2 or 3 pitches, but that fast ball or fast pitch was so devastating, and he had a natural curve being a left hand. And so Isolene was supposed to have been the star pitcher, but the ball was given to the next best pitcher, who was Linda Lewis. And Linda Lewis dominated the competition, winning all but one of the games in the Central American and Caribbean games. And Belize won its first gold medal in 1974. Being the first time that women's fast pitch softball was introduced as a medal sport in the games. And for us as a small country to have captured the gold medal was quite a feat. In fact, we were given a ticker tape parade. We were honored. We had placed our country Belize on the map, and that was just the beginning at that time. We played in several other tournaments, going to Bermuda, going to Bahamas, going to Mexico, going to Central America. I need to say too that by that time the Central American games came into play. We were prevented first from participating in the Central American games because we were blocked by Guatemala. Guatemala did not want Belize to participate as a country in its own right. The other of the international federations, sporting disciplines. And so those players, even though they might have made the national team for 3 years or 4 years, you would have had to have acquired or accrued a minimum of, and I can't remember exactly, I would have to look in the annals to see what was the minimum number of international games that you would have had to participate in to qualify to be nominated to the Hall of Fame. It's not just a one-time experience being in the being on an national team or national selection. And so several of them did not meet the requirements by not having sufficient games or international exposure. I stayed at home and I was on a team from 1969 till 1979. That's 10 years experience. Lashley was the national coach for must be twice the number of years that I won, because long after I stopped playing internationally, Lashley continued to be the coach of the national softball team. And so did Solis, right? Because Solis has been with the team. When we went to the second Central American and Caribbean Games, many of the players that had participated in the first one in 1974 were still on the second one in 1978, but there were many who were not there. And I can think of several who right after 1974 might have left Belize in 1975 or 1976. The second Central American and Caribbean Games was held in Medellin, Colombia, and we did not even get to the finals in that. We did not medal.
What do you think, as you mentioned that specifically,
yes,
what would you say contributed to the decrease of the quick downfall of softball? And why is it that your generation of softball players from 1969 to 79 had such degree of discipline, and why did you guys play that game that you don't really, you play the game at that level that you don't really see today in these young players today?
Several things happened with the 1978 team from my perspective that led to us not even medaling in those games. And it's a matter of 4 years, from 74 to 78, and you wouldn't think that we would have fallen from grace so quickly. Several of the players who had played on that team in 1974 migrated, and it was almost half of the team were new players, first time experience in things like the games. And when you go to games, it's something different from what happened at home. At home, you'll be playing in a game maybe every 3 days or 4 days. When you go to a tournament such as the Central American and Caribbean Games, you might have a doubleheader back-to-back, and that would be 14 innings, being able to sustain a high caliber of game for 14 innings. It takes a toll on your pitchers, and if you don't have a cadre of pitchers that you can bring in your relievers, and your relievers will be able to maintain your lead, your players would have the cardiovascular endurance and so on, and stamina to be able to play at that level in those type of competition. And so it really took a toll on the team by taking a few new players, green novice players I want to call them, and also some of the better players leaving Belize and migrating to the United States, and having to build a national team continuously. It makes no sense to keep changing your national team every year or every 2 years. Teams that were rated, and they learned from us. They were embarrassed that a small country like Belize of meager resources, playing fields, equipment, understanding the science of the game, could have dominated in that first Central American and Caribbean Games in Santa Domingo. And so they began to practice to beat us, because then Belize became the team to beat. And they made sure that they would do everything in their capacity to defeat Belize. And so they came back with learning the game as scientific as possible, while we might have been just depending on, well, still in that euphoric state that, hey, we were the gold medalists.
Yes.
And so we have been there to the mountaintop, and you don't have to work as hard to remain on the mountaintop.
Give me a sort of a gavel to gavel, if you can, or a play-by-play of the 1974 gold medal game where you ladies beat the Puerto Rico.
Yes.
Give us a sort of play-by-play action of how that game was won.
We were so much head and shoulders above many of the other competition, and Puerto Rico were our closest rivals. And I can remember Linda Lewis being such a fast baller. I mean, the speed of the ball was phenomenal, that our competitors could not keep up with the pace of the pitch, and so we dominated. And our strength was good defense and excellent pitcher in the player of Linda Lewis. And I think that Raymond Lashley, being the national coach, could depend on the players at that time to give 150% in terms of ambition, in terms of determination, in terms of diligence to the sport, and wanting to be the best. We had an opportunity to be on the world stage, albeit in the region, and we took every advantage of that. And so we perhaps took it for granted that we would be able to dominate the competition when we went back in 1978 in Medellin, Colombia.
How much did the Belize national selection won by against Puerto Rico in the 74 gold medal?
I can't remember, but I think it was quite outstanding. I think it was something to 1.
I think Bonaramda said something of 14-1.
Something to 1.
Yes.
And we were shutting them out, and we were supposed to shut them out. But there was a change in the outfielder, and we put in a younger player in the outfield, and Puerto Rico scored 1 run, and so we did not shut them out. But other than that, we went through that competition almost unscathed. And that was the kind of ball that we were playing at the time. Fast pitch softball. We had excellent base running, good defense, good pitching, and we were quite knowledgeable about the game. So,
other countries that you all had beat besides Puerto Rico in getting to the championship, to the finals, who are some of those teams?
I think some of those were Venezuela, Colombia, the Netherlands Antilles, Jamaica, and a couple others I can't remember. Jamaica was in there, and I think Bermuda, if I'm not mistaken, Bermuda. Shortly after participating in that second Central American and Caribbean Games in Medellin, the World Series was held in El Salvador. And here we are now, still on a high from our gold medal fame, and being able to participate in the World Series, where now we are going to be meeting competition outside of the region, and greats like United States, Canada, Australia, Japan, Taiwan, which is a powerhouse in fast pitch softball, and several other European countries. I remember New Zealand, and even a team from Africa had participated. They weren't all that good, not as good as the North American region. Linda Lewis, Debbie Theos at the time, and she got married named Terry, and she's married named something else
Sanchez.
now. Sanchez, yes. Isolene Heath, deceased. Joan Garbott, she was from Esperanza. She lives in LA too.
She promised me she will, He lost her mother and she has been grieving ever since.
For that,
Yeah.
And Genevieve Jenkins lives in Chicago.
Yes, I've legit had contacted her.
This guy was the president of the softball. He was a commissioner of softball at that time. It was commissioner. That's Leslie Isaacs. He died too.
Leslie Isaacs.
Yeah.
I remember this.
And then right here was Sonia Bulla. Behind Sonia Bulla, Charles Humes. You might be able to get him. Babu. Yeah, he's
here, right?
He's here. He's around.
I would love to talk with him, man.
And this is Brenda Johnson and June. These two are my partners here, June Belizean. On this kneeling here, Noreen Bodden was one of the catchers. So our catchers were Brenda Johnson and Noreen Bodden. Oh, Sonia, I said somebody else here. Can you imagine? I'm myself right there, I tell you. There's me there. That is Sonia Bulla. This is Elaine Smith, right? Marie Wade. She lives in California too.
Yes, Marie Wade. Yes.
And Grace Banner, deceased.
Yes.
Grace Banner was from
Grace Banner was very good.
Yes. Very good. Third base. Please beat the United States. I believe the score was 2-1. And United States could not believe it, that they were defeated. Belize ended up with the bronze medal in the Pan American Games. And next to the Olympics, the Pan American Games are the highest level of competition that one can play in any sport and any sporting discipline. And so we are down in the history of sports as one of the few teams that still have ever defeated United States in fast pitch softball. They were supposed to be the architects of the sport. A small third world country like Belize is not supposed to defeat the United States, the big first world, especially in sports, in something like fast pitch softball. And the pitcher of record is none other than Margaret Usher. And Margaret Usher was such a dominance, not necessarily with the fastball that Linda Lewis had, but she had more pitches. She had more strategies in knowing how to overcome batters and hitters. And so Margaret Usher defeated United States in fast pitch softball in a tournament as big as the Pan American Games that was held in Puerto Rico in 1979. Belize had also, in that same year, gone to Mexico and participated in a junior tournament at which Belize won the gold medal in a junior tournament in Mexico. And right after that, those very same players, the very same team, went to Puerto Rico and participated in the Pan American Games and was in such top shape, good form, that they were able to not only compete favorably with the United States, but to defeat them in a score of on that team. If you would see players like Bernadine McDougall, she was on that team. Dorrit Martinez was on that team in Puerto Rico, and they would be able to give you a more detailed explanation of what had taken place.
Yes. But Bennett, I want to thank you so much for this interview. You have unfolded a tremendous amount of softball sports history in Belize, and the two most historic times, the 1974 gold medal team and the 1979 team that beat the United States in the Pan American Games.
And won the bronze medal.
And won the bronze medal at that time.
Yes.
Any final word to the young softball players coming up today?
Just before I say that, Belize participated in several other Central American and Caribbean games. They went all over the world, and they've garnered many silver medals, bronze medals, more than once, but they never did capture that gold medal again. It just eluded us down through the years. And my advice to young players, that there must be a determination to be the best. You can only be the best if you would put in the required amount of work necessary to be at the top. Playing nationally is good, but it pales when it compares with the international competition, because you might be the best here nationally, but you must aspire to do better, to be even better than your best when you're at home. You must learn the science of the games, because the game, fundamentally, it is still the same thing. Throwing the ball, hitting the ball, pitching the ball. But we need to move beyond the fundamentals of the games. That is a necessary requirement. But you can't remain at the fundamentals of the game and think that you're going to be competing with world class. You have got to go even further than that. So you've got to get into the gym and do the required gym work. You must be strong. There must be strength, whether you are the pitcher or the catcher or whatever position you play on the team. You must have muscle strength. You must have muscle endurance. And a lot of time players think that I can get by with just muscle strength. Muscle endurance, because you'll be called on to play back to back. You'll be called on to play in quick succession. That you might have to go into overtime. Several things come into the game now. Of course, there are ways in which you can break a tie and by speeding up the game. But put in the necessary work and be ambitious. Want to be the best. Want to be the best. And it is not just for participating. It is to win. Always think that you can win. I remember one of the coaches had said to me, where do you think by that time I had become the national trainer of the softball teams going out of Belize for both female and male selections. And the coach said to me, well, what position do you think we're going to get in participating in this tournament? And I said, that is a no-brainer. I always compete to be number one, and I will work hard to be number one. Don't tell me that I will go just to participate, to say that I participated in a tournament or in a games. I go with the intention that I will be number one, and so I am going to work hard here in Belize, giving myself sufficient time to develop the necessary condition and the skills and the acumen to go and be the number one in the world. Until we have that kind of ambition, we will just be also run. We don't want to be also run. We want to be the best. And I am hoping for the day when we will be back on the world stage, being among the best. All the powerhouses, not necessarily in the region, but in the world.
Thank you very much, Pat Bennett.
You are very welcome.